The film begins by showing a little girl climbing an elevator box in a cave and going to the top floor of the cave to check what really happened to the cave excavation workers. Currently, the girl is in the cave that is the location of Emperor Ding's secret project, which is trying to raise an invincible magical army. The excavation workers were assigned to build dozens of statues from pottery obtained directly from the supernatural. After all the pottery warrior statues were finished, Emperor Ding and other royal officials would perform a ritual using 4 dragon head seals and a few drops of human blood to fill a sacred altar. When the girl arrived on the top floor, precisely where the sacred altar is located, she was shocked by dozens of excavation workers who had been killed by a royal commander named Chi Seongru. Not only killing the workers, but Seongru also cut off the right arm of one of the royal ministers named Li Xinchen after an argument broke out between them. It is still unclear why Seongru cut Li Xinchen's arm, but Emperor Ding and General Tong Qianlin kept asking Seongru to get out of the place because soon, the seal of the sacred altar would be opened. Afterward, Li Xinchen asked Seongru to hand over the inheritance of the 9 dragons, which was the key to the seal of the sacred altar where anyone who possessed the pen would be able to control the supernatural forces of the afterlife. However, Seongru, still angry with Li Xinchen, refused the request and handed over the heirloom to Emperor Ding. After handing over the heirloom, Seongru angrily kicked Li Xinchen's body, causing him to fall into the abyss. Then the blood flowing from his cut arm accidentally activated the sacred altar and opened the gate of the cave that housed the army of occult warriors. Soon after, Seongru ordered Emperor Ding and General Tong Qianlin to leave the place while he would sacrifice himself to fight against the entire army of occult soldiers and seal the sacred altar seal. He has to deal with dozens of magical soldiers and several spider demons alone, but he will try to defeat them all by using the magical items he has prepared. 20 years after that incident, Emperor Ding's health deteriorated due to the curse of the 9 dragons' treasure. The prince, who knew nothing about the heirloom, became confused and worried about his father's state. The prince tried to ask the physicians in the kingdom about the actual condition of Emperor Ding, but none of them were willing to tell about the curse. One day, Emperor Ding mentioned someone named Ling in front of him, and he thought this person could help cure the emperor's illness. On the other hand, several male prisoners in the royal dungeon were eating some delicious chicken meat. Many prisoners seemed to really enjoy the chicken meat. However, when a half-blind man informed that the dish was only served to prisoners to be put to death, a bald man who was a fellow inmate of the blind man became frightened. Prisoners in royal dungeons usually only got simple food like rice and sweet potatoes, so it was natural for them to feel suspicious when given a delicious dish like roast beef. Yet, one special prisoner gets special treatment from the kingdom because that prisoner will get a variety of delicious foods every day and have a more decent room than other prisoners. Emperor Ding had previously mentioned to the prince that the special prisoner was Ling. The special treatment he received often drew the envy of the other prisoners and made many prisoners hate him. That day, there was a new male prisoner named Namoto Zenzo who came from Japan and would undergo execution the next day. After learning that Zenzo would die soon, Ling became sympathetic and decided to give him some delicious food. When the prisoners saw the abundance of delicious food that Ling had, they all became very angry and continued to protest by throwing cutlery in front of the prison cell. Hearing the chaos, he got up from his seat and casually opened the prison cell door locked with an iron. After coming out of his cell room, Ling started cursing all the prisoners and shouted about the faults of each prisoner, as if he already knew all the disgrace of each prisoner. All the prisoners could only be silent, hearing his scolding, but a bald man who previously shared a room with a blind man chose to confront Ling directly. The bald man kicked the cell door so that the door flew hard and almost hit him. Just as the bald man was about to hit Ling, Zenzo suddenly stopped the blow and fought against the man. With his extraordinary martial arts technique, Zenzo could easily defeat the bald man until he fainted. Not long after the chaos ensued, several royal guards came and asked Ling to go see the prince and Emperor Ding. When Ling arrived at the emperor's room, the prince accused him of being the one who had made his father have the cursed disease for years. However, Ling denied the accusation and said that a person who had been imprisoned for a dozen years like himself would not be able to harm the king. Seeing his arrogant attitude, the prince became very angry and demanded Ling show respect because Emperor Ding had helped free Ling from the palace prison. Hearing those words, Ling stood up, angry, and said that a person like Emperor Ding didn't deserve any respect because he had imprisoned the entire Ling family for so many years for no apparent reason. Emperor Ding even had the heart to execute his father, who was none other than the commander of the Seongru kingdom, without having any evidence. Hearing all of Ling's complaints, the prince said that Emperor Ding's goal to free him was to atone for all those mistakes. The prince then explained that Emperor Ding was suffering from a deadly blue dragon curse disease closely related to the 9 dragons heirloom at this time. Therefore, the prince asked Ling to investigate the mystery of Emperor Ding's illness, and if he managed to solve all of it, the royal party would clear his family's good name. However, Ling still couldn't believe all that and forced Emperor Ding to speak directly in front of him. With a limp, Emperor Ding walked out of the room and approached Ling to tell him what had happened to Songgru 20 years ago. Emperor Ding explained that Songgru was punished because he had killed 300 excavation workers who were in a secret royal project. Society then demanded the royal party execute him and imprison his entire family as punishment for the mistake. Hearing all the explanations from Emperor Ding, Ling felt very frustrated and could not believe that his father had the heart to commit such a heinous crime. After that, Emperor Ding ordered him to investigate the mystery of the sacred altar gate using the 9 Dragons heirloom and find out the truth about what had happened there. To carry out this mission, Emperor Ding appointed Ling as one of the royal officials and gave him some money and licensing documents. He was even allowed to free Zhenzo and chose Zhenzo as his own bodyguard. As a thank you to Ling for freeing him from the death penalty, Zhenzo promised to always be loyal and accompany him throughout the journey. Before Ling traveled, the prince had warned him to complete this mission within the allotted time limit, or at stake, the entire Ling family would be beheaded. While looking at the white jade necklace his father gave him, Ling promised to complete this mission well to improve his family's reputation. The next day, Ling, Zhenzo, and his men began to travel to the stone cave once the site of a royal project. After a long journey through the desert, Ling and the others finally arrived at a stone gate that was tightly locked. He tries to open the gate using the shadow of the 9 Dragons treasure because he believes the Dragon Cave gate has something to do with the treasure. Unfortunately, just as he was about to open the gate, a masked swordsman suddenly appeared and attacked him. Fortunately, Zhenzo and the guards managed to protect Ling from the shurikens thrown by the swordsman. The battle between Zhenzo and the masked warrior named Kushan was fierce because both had great fighting techniques. At first, Zhenzo managed to overcome every attack issued by Kushan. However, when Kushan used his hallucination and shadow skills, Zhenzo became overwhelmed. Just as he was almost killed by Kushan, Ling suddenly appeared and attacked Kushan from behind. Ling turned out to have a pretty great fighting ability and even managed to find out the weaknesses of Kushan's moves. Unfortunately, just as Ling was about to defeat Kushan with his sword, a male swordsman named Ken suddenly attacked him with a strong blow that sent him flying far away. Not only that, all of Ling's and Zhenzo's sword slashes couldn't even scratch Ken's body because of his big and thick body. Just as Ling was starting to get cornered, Ken suddenly sprayed poison toward his body. Fortunately, one of Ling's bodyguards was willing to sacrifice himself to protect him so that he could survive and only suffer a wound on the wrist. However, the poison was so deadly that Ling had to cut off his arm so the poison wouldn't spread to his body. Just as Ken was about to spit poison at Ling again, a woman in a red robe suddenly came and saved him from that place. Moments later, Ling woke up in a house tied up under the ceiling. He saw the female warrior who had previously helped him talking to an old swordsman about one of his arms that had been severed. Just as he was about to speak to them, Ling fell unconscious again from the poison that was still spreading throughout his body. The next morning when Ling woke up, he found that his arm had been connected to the prosthetic arm of the old swordsman, who turned out to be Li Xinchen. Li Xinchen said that one of his arms had been severed over the years, so he used the prosthetic arm instead of his arm. However, because he felt indebted to Ling's father, he decided to give the prosthetic arm to Ling. Ling felt familiar with Li Xinchen's name, but he still didn't remember anything about him. Shortly after, the red-robed warrior girl Li Ya walked into the room and introduced herself as Li Xinchen's adopted daughter. She explained that previously she was sent by Li Xinchen to guard Ling when he was about to open the secret cave gate. Li Xinchen then informed Ling that he had an informant in the Ding Royal Palace so he could find out about Ling's travel plans to the secret cave. He knew about the blue dragon curse disease that Emperor Ding was suffering from, but Li Xinchen preferred to stay away from the royal palace after what happened to Songgru. Hearing this, Ling asked what relationship Li Xinchen had with his father and what Li Xinchen knew about his father's death. Li Xinchen was silent for a while before finally opening the secret door and showing Ling a secret room. At the same time, Ken goes to the royal palace and reports to the prince about his failure to kill Ling. As it turned out, the one who had sent him and Kushan to kill Ling was the prince himself. The prince plans to seize the 9 Dragons treasure and kill the entire Ling group so that he fails to complete the mission. Unbeknownst to Emperor Ding, the prince had been planning to let him suffer from the blue dragon's curse so that he could soon die and the throne would fall into the hands of the prince. Therefore, the prince continued to urge Ken to seize the 9 Dragons treasure and kill Ling, even at the risk of his own life. Meanwhile, Ling entered the letter storage hall with Li Xinchen and Li Yao. Li Xinchen ordered a dwarf named Cat Servant to find a scroll related to an afterlife pottery statue. After showing the document to Ling, Li Xinchen then recounted that several years ago, Emperor Ding had ordered Li Xinchen to make an army of occult warriors from the pottery statues of the afterlife so that they could fight against the Ukuwe warriors. After successfully defeating the Ukuwe warriors, Emperor Ding ordered Songgru to lead the project of excavating a secret cave that would be used to store the army of the occult warriors. After the storage room was finished, 4 masters with magical skills gathered at the altar to seal the room with the 9 dragons' treasure. The first master is Emperor Ding, who has the power of the blue dragon as a symbol of power. The second master is Qi Xiongru, who has the power of the Qilin as a symbol of wisdom. The third master is Li Xinshan, who has phoenix power or magic, while the last master is General Tong Qianlin, who has the power of snake stealth as a symbol of protection. These 4 powers can activate the sacred altar and unseal the room of the goblin army in the secret cave. Li Xinshan then showed him the arm that Xiongru had slashed and told him that Xiongru had slaughtered 300 excavation workers so that no one would know the secret about the supernatural forces. At that time, he was trying to stop Xiongru's massacre. However, Xiongru managed to defeat him and cut off one of his arms. Everything he just said was still very difficult for Qi Ling to accept because he couldn't believe that his father had the heart to do all of that. But Li Yao convinced Qi Ling that what Li Xinshan said happened because she witnessed all of this. After all, she was the little girl in the cave at the time of the incident. After that, Li Xinshan infused the phoenix power of his arm into the 9 dragons' treasure so that the relic already had 2 elements of power, and Qi Ling only needed to find the other 2 elements of strength. Then, Li Xinshan asked Qi Ling to gather all the strength so that he could open the magical army storage room and destroy the entire army in that place. Thus, Li Xinshan was sure that Emperor Ding's blue dragon curse disease would disappear and Qi Ling's mission of cleaning up his family's reputation would be successful. Shortly after, Li Xinshan advised Qi Ling to use the prosthetic arm he had given as best as he could because it could withstand any weapon attacks and bursts of fire. Just as Qi Ling was about to ask Li Xinshan where he could find General Tong, a large spear suddenly shot into his chest, killing him. It turned out that the attack came from Ken, who intended to seize the 9 dragons' treasure and kill Li Xinshan. Luckily, Qi Ling and Li Yao managed to kill Ken after they teamed up to insert a jar of poison into his body. The next day, Qi Ling and Li Yao cremated Li Xinshan's body and paid their last respects to him. On the other hand, the prince received news about Ken's defeat, who had been killed by Qi Ling and Li Yao. Not long after, a Japanese swordsman suddenly appeared in the prince's room and volunteered to complete his mission to kill Qi Ling. His name is Kyojiro. He was a great swordsman who traveled to China because he could not find a commensurate enemy in his home country. After hearing a brief story about Kyojiro's origins, the prince decided to employ him on this mission. The next day, Qi Ling and Li Yao returned to the royal palace to meet one of the royal servants named Dafu. On that occasion, he reunited with Zhenzo, who had survived Ken's attack the other day. Qi Ling then asked Dafu for information regarding General Tong and his current location. Dafu recounted that General Tong was last seen when he saved Emperor Ding from pursuing the royal rebels, resulting in them fleeing from the royal palace. At the time of the war, General Tong was seriously injured by 30 arrows fired by the enemy. It is still unknown exactly where his location is because he has never returned to the royal palace. After several days of gathering information, Qi Ling began to find signs of General Tong's presence on a foreign ship that often docked at the dock to buy some herbal medicines from the border market. To sneak inside the ship, Qi Ling and the others decided to go undercover so they could investigate General Tong's whereabouts. Li Yao will disguise herself as a Japanese maid who works on the ship, while Qi Ling and the others will disguise themselves as guests who want to enjoy their vacation there. That night, Li Yao overheard the conversation of a group of Japanese men who were guarding a man who was seriously injured. The Japanese men began to suspect the movements of Qi Ling's group and intended to find out what he was planning. Before the Japanese men took action, Li Yao had already approached Qi Ling and told him all her information. After they realized that Japanese men were watching them, he decided to kiss her and act as if they were dating. However, Yao, surprised by Qi Ling's sudden action, took a weapon at him and provoked the suspicion of the Japanese men, who then barged in to attack him. Fortunately, Kyojiro coincidentally came to the place and managed to stop the Japanese men and force them all to leave the room. Kyojiro purposely chased them away because he wanted to fight against Qi Ling and defeat him alone. Li Yao, annoyed with Kyojiro's arrogance, attacked him with several surprise attacks that trapped him. It turns out that Kyojiro is not actually a swordsman. He is just an ordinary fisherman who often brags about his fighting abilities because no one has dared to attack him so far. Kyojiro thought he was very strong without realizing that he had never actually succeeded in defeating anyone. Seeing the frightened Kyojiro, Qi Ling and Li Yao decided to forgive and release him. After that incident, the Japanese men about to attack Qi Ling came to his room and apologized for their presumptuous actions. Qi Ling, who had just found out that they were the ones who had been guarding General Tong all along, requested that he be reunited with him. When Qi Ling saw General Tong lying limp, he felt suspicious because the wounds on his body looked fresh. Qi Ling tried to examine the dragon tattoo on General Tong's back to extract the stealth power from his body. Surprisingly, the 9 dragons' treasure didn't react to the tattoo as if there was no stealth power within his body. The next day, Qi Ling told Li Yao about his suspicions about General Tong, whom they met yesterday. He explained that General Tong had been at that time for decades, but the wounds on his body looked fresh. Ling was suspicious when he knew that General Tong still had nightmares and was unconscious even after 20 years. Hearing his words, Li Ya suddenly remembered the painful memories of the past. Bad memories still leave scars and nightmares. Li Ya said she was actually the daughter of one of the workers who excavated Emperor Ding's secret cave. Before her father disappeared into the secret cave, her father said goodbye to her and gave her a pottery bracelet. Until now, she still hoped that her father would never go to work in that secret cave so that her father would return safely. In the evening, Ling and Li Ya returned to General Tong's room and found one of his men cleaning the room. When the man noticed their arrival, he informed them that General Tong had died from a serious illness he had suffered for many years. He deliberately cleaned and tidied the room as a sign of his last respects to General Tong. But Ling didn't seem to believe his words and started to interrogate him about some strange events that had happened before. Ling recalled that when Kyojiro hit the man's back with a stick, there was a fairly strong sound of metal banging. Not only that, Ling suspects a special magnet in the man's body because his compass is always pointed at the man's body. After hearing all of Ling's statements, the man had no choice but to admit that he was the real General Tong. It turned out that General Tong had been hiding his true identity to determine if Ling intended to use the 9 dragons' inheritance in the realm of kindness. General Tong then channeled his power into the heirloom so that Ling only needed to find one last element of strength. The next day, they discussed their plan to find the elemental power of Ling's late father and unseal the sacred altar so they can destroy the occult warrior statue. During that conversation, Li Ya suddenly attacked General Tong from behind for no apparent reason. Ling and some of the ship's workers looked shocked at what happened until one of the workers dropped a candle and lit a big fire. Li Ya then attacked Ling, telling him that she had witnessed the death of her father and hundreds of other excavation workers who had been massacred by Songru. She still couldn't forgive Songru's mistake and held that grudge until now, so she intended to kill Ling as revenge for her father's death. Ling continued to dodge every Li Ya attack and tried to release the prosthetic arm, which turned out to be a trap hand that could hinder his movement. He finally realized that Li Ya and Li Xinshan had conspired to deceive him to obtain the 9 dragons' heirloom. During the fierce battle, Ling saw Li Yao's keepsake bracelet fall, and he quietly picked up the bracelet. When he realized the ship was about to collapse into the ocean, he sacrificed himself to protect Li Yao. A while later, Li Yao went to the secret cave and took Ling hostage. While in the cave, he was shocked by the fact that Li Xinshan was actually still alive and that Li Xinshan's previous death was just a lie. It turned out that Li Xinshan still holds a grudge over Songru's actions, which cut off one of his arms and made his life miserable. To that end, he plans to unseal the sacred altar and raise an army of magical warriors so that he can become the ruler of the world. After explaining all that, Li Xinshan then took the element of strength from Ling's father, which was stored in the jade necklace that Ling had been carrying. Now that the 9 dragons' treasure had been activated, Li Xinshan opened the sacred altar's seal and the storage gate where the magical army was hidden. After that, he ordered Li Ya to fill the sacred altar with drops of blood from Ling's body. However, when Li Ya stabbed Ling's body with a knife, the bracelet suddenly fell from Ling's shirt, making her realize that Ling was truly a sincere person. Even she could only regret seeing him unconscious, and the blood flowing from his body began to fill the altar. After the altar seal was opened, the army of magical warriors rose again, and Li Xinshan could control the army with the 9 dragons' inheritance. At the same time, Zhenzo, the surviving General Tong, and several other royal troops came to stop Li Xinshan. General Tong told everyone that, in fact, the person who had killed all the excavation workers was Li Xinshan because he wanted to make all the bodies of the workers as offerings. Songru, knowing about Li Xinshan's plan, tried to stop him by cutting off one of his arms. Afterward, Songru handed over the 9 dragons' passage to Emperor Ding so that Li Xinshan could not abuse the power of the magical army. Even Li Ya, who heard the truth, did not expect that the person who had raised her all this time was actually the murderer of her father. Unfortunately, before Li Ya could issue any attack on Li Xinshan, he had already attacked her until she was seriously injured. After that, he started summoning some magical troops to attack Zhenzuo and the other kingdom's troops. General Tong, who was still badly injured then, intended to attack, but after witnessing the supernatural force's cruelty, he tried to escape with his bodyguards. At the same time, Li Ya tried to resuscitate Ling by using her blood droplet so that he could regain consciousness. After Li Ya drained her blood for some time, Ling regained his senses. Li Ya then went to great lengths to destroy the altar with her sword and disrupted the altar's formation so that the magical army could be easily removed. Unfortunately, not long after, Li Xinshan captured her and made her an offering to resurrect the Demon King. After the Demon King rose, Li Xinshan ordered the demon to kill everyone. But unexpectedly, the Demon King attacked him because, in that body, there was still a little bit of consciousness from Li Yao's mind. When the Demon King began to attack the royal army, Ling tried to destroy the crystal stone in the demon's body so that Li Yao's soul could regain consciousness and be free from the body. Soon after, Ling remembered the jade shards he had found in front of the secret cave gate and realized that the jade could destroy the Demon King. After that, Ling and Zhenzo worked to release the iron chain and drop a large jade stone onto the Demon King's body. Unfortunately, the Demon King could still get up and attack all of them so aggressively that it knocked them all away very hard. Thankfully, Ling still chose the jade fragment stored in the jade necklace fragment left by his father. Ling then smeared the jade onto his sword and pointed the sword at the crystal stone inside the Demon King's body. After he had managed to enter the demon's body, he tried to resuscitate Li Yao, who was still trapped in the Demon King's body. Ling used all his strength to pull Li Yao's body until he finally managed to destroy the Demon King and free her. Unfortunately, Li Yao couldn't last too long after such a hard struggle and had to die in Ling's arms. At the same time, the prince is finally detained in a dungeon after royal officials discover his plan to get rid of Emperor Ding. After all his hard work, Ling was finally appointed as one of the officials in the royal palace for his services in curing Emperor Ding's illness. Emperor Ding cleaned up the Ling family's reputation as he had promised before and gave him the freedom to roam anywhere. The film ends by showing Ling about to go on a long journey with Zhenzo and Dafu. Ling saw Li Yao's bracelet and promised to keep all his memories with her until the end of his life. The moral message that can be learned from this film is that not all people who are kind in front of us are good people, because sometimes some of those who are close and become our friends are our real worst enemies.